Welcome back to Session 0, where I discuss Dungeon World and other RPG topics. Today's video will be a quick preview of my new one-shot, The Goblins Took It. Alright, before I get into it, I want to give an artist shout out. The cover and all of the interior art is by Patrick E. Pullen. I've used some of his art in the past, and a few images actually inspired some of the content of this one-shot, as well as some of the scenes I described while playtesting. I really like the art I used in this piece. Next, let's take a look at the table of contents real quick. Just like a game master for Dungeon World, I have an agenda when producing this series of one-shots, with some principles which keep me focused on that agenda. Anyone familiar with John 4's 5-room dungeons will recognize elements of that system here. These are integral as story beats in my one-shot format, not literal rooms, because they allow for flexibility and customizability while maintaining a narrative structure. From the introduction we get, in the Goblins Took It one-shot, the player characters rush into a goblin settlement on the word of a complete stranger to recover something. Who is this person, and what do they say the goblins took? Is there actually some other reason they want an armed escort into a village full of goblins? This is quite important as an introduction because it speaks to what I feel should happen at the start of a one-shot, which is getting all of the backstory out of the way in as few words as possible. Someone came in and said some stuff, and now you're following them to a goblin village. But can you trust that what they said was true? We've bypassed meeting in a tavern and talking to the NPC and are getting straight into the action. What you're looking at here is the basics of the one-shot format I've been developing over the past year and a half. Discern Realities is a series of questions and answers which thrust your characters immediately into the action. Spout Lore is a chance to gain some interesting or useful information right before play begins. And the 5-room dungeons provide a quick summary of story beats, which are detailed later. The fourth and final piece of the format, Perilous Journey, comes at the end to offer advice for continuing the adventure or adding it to an existing campaign. I also want to show off something I'm really proud of, which is terrain variation. I want to show how it affects the way you describe a scene, as well as the effects it has on one of the story beats in this particular one-shot. The type of terrain in which you set the adventure adds a number of themes, which you'll use alongside themes listed for each story beat to describe a scene. Now, this is not an exhaustive list, it's just meant to be a starter to give you some sights, sounds, and smells to describe scenes in your own way, rather than reading how the author, who is me in this case, thinks a scene should be described. Let's say you or your players decide to set this in a coastal region. Here are some things you can use to describe the sights, sounds, and smells of any story beat. In the first story beat, when the Goblin Patrol arrives, they're riding giant snapping turtles. Let's say I give my ranged goblins javelins, and the melee goblins get maces and spiked shields, and these are also made from snapping turtle shells. That encounter, that story beat, will look, smell, and sound different than the same set in a different region, or even in the same region described by a different GM. Finally, I want to answer a question which may come up about this one-shot, because I do have a little over 350 people using my Dungeon World Oracle deck for solo play. That question is, can I play this one-shot solo? The short answer is yes, but. Yes, you can play it solo because really you can play any published adventure solo. But the problem when doing so is that there are no surprises because you've already read it. I personally love a sense of discovery while playing solo, which is why I created the Oracle deck in the first place. I then spent almost 2 years developing a way to use it to its fullest potential. So take that for whatever it's worth. Alright, that's it for this video. Be on the lookout for more one-shots and dungeons in the near future. You know what to do if you like my content. Thanks for watching, and as always, I hope you have a great day.